Predator Killer of Killers dropped with 3 wild stories: a Viking warrior, a silent ninja, and a World War II pilot, all going head to head with a Predator. So today I'm ranking all 3 of those stories from my least favorite to the one that absolutely blew me away, what they got right, what they got wrong. There's a whole lot to talk about here, so let's get started. Coming in at number 3 is The Sword. Now this story is set in Japan, and The Sword is the most visually distinct and atmospheric of all of the 3, and it kind of has to be because there's actually minimal dialogue in this story. There's really nothing until the very end. It's all visual, what we can gather with the story that they're trying to tell without actually telling us anything. You just have to go with what you see on the screen, and that's about it. And the crazy thing, it worked. So the main character is a ninja, and we see him basically infiltrate this palace, and you actually see the Predator kind of following him and tailing him with his cloaking device. So you have this silent ninja working in the shadows, calculated and taking people out, but you also have the Predator right behind him, following him the whole time. So in this story specifically, you see a lot of traits that mirror what a Predator is: calculated, silent, all of these things. It's all rolled up into the protagonist as well as the antagonist. Pretty cool to see. Now I loved this Predator. This Predator in this story was probably my favorite out of all of the 3. The way that it's so silent up until the point where it reveals itself. At that point, it's just utter chaos, right? It's brutal, but it's so precise with the moves that it makes. It really does mirror the ninja that we see up until that point with the actual protagonist and the spear. The weapons that this Predator has was so cool. The spear that just opens up like a flower of death. It wasn't used, too much. You got to see it once and then once again towards the end. But man, when it was revealed to you how he uses it, on who he uses it on, that thing stuck out with me. That was like, my eyes got a little bit bigger watching the story. That was so cool to see. So while the Predator in this story was my favorite out of the 3, the actual hero of the story, the ninja, was just okay in my opinion. There wasn't really that emotional connection to him. There wasn't really that motivation that I felt for the other characters in the other stories. It was just okay. It was kind of like a means to an end, and while it wasn't a bad, motivation or story by any means, it just didn't hit with me the way that the other ones did. So The Sword does a lot of things right. It gives us a beautiful backdrop in Japan. It gives us a crazy Predator with some awesome weapons, and I love how the story comes full circle with the brothers starting their journey on the riverside and ending on the riverside. I thought that was a really cool thing to do. But in the end, this story compared to the others just felt more style than soul. So that's why it's stuck at number 3. And our runner-up is The Bullet. And I'm gonna be honest with you all, I thought that The Bullet was gonna be the most boring and just least, fun story of all 3 of them. When I heard it was gonna be a Viking, a ninja, and then the World War II pilot, I was like, okay, I might go the other way with this one. But I was shocked at how cool and how good this story was. So The Bullet follows this guy named Torres, who's just a kid that gets drafted into World War II. Now, I loved the motivation that he had in the story. You see the opening shot of the story with him and his dad working on a car that breaks down, and his dad says, "I can't protect you anymore, you have to learn to do things for yourself," as he hands him the draft papers. And just that quick little scene of establishing the dynamic between the two. You can see the love in the father's eyes, talking to Torres, and then a couple years pass, or a year passes, however long it is, and you see what Torres can do by himself, and you see the picture of his dad in his plane as he's doing all these things, and it just adds so much emotional layers to it, and you just want to see him get back to his dad. So very cool, very good storytelling as far as the emotional punch and the emotional motivation that you want to see in a story like this. So yeah, Torres is a super likable character, watching him grow from the scared mechanic who doesn't know what to do to this guy taking down a Predator in the sky. Awesome development. Now, as far as the Predator goes, this one didn't really do it for me. This is probably my least favorite out of all of them, but that's because there isn't a lot of personality that they could give this guy. He's in the ship, so the ship is actually the main star of the story, something that the franchise has never really done before, right? We've always seen the Predator come in with his cloaked gear, with all the weapons that he has. That's kind of the standard thing that we do. So that's another thing that really stood out to me, is that they used the ship, new technology that we've really not seen so far in the franchise, and that was at the forefront of all of it. So not only was it a cool mix-up and just mixing up the formula, but it added more to what we expect the predators to do and what they can do. And what they can do in the sky is a lot. Just as much as they can do on the ground, they can do up in the sky. And that just added so much tension and action, and it was crazy. You know, whenever a predator shows up and they're fighting whoever on the ground, there's tension, there's the stakes are high, right? But when you're in the sky and say he blows up the plane or whatever and say they survive, well, they're still falling, right? So there's that added tension there, which even though it was little, it added a lot. So I love the character in the story. Torres gave the story its heart. I cared about him. I cared about him getting back to his dad, and the pacing of the story kept me hooked from start to finish. It had so much action. It did not let up in the least. This one's a banger. The #1 story in Predator Killer of Killers is The Shield, and I felt like this one was made for me. The Viking setting, the frozen tundra, and just being that far removed from the modern setting just really did it for me. This was the one that I was looking forward to the most, and this one delivered. Now, the main character of this story, Ursa, needs to be in the Predator Hall of Fame. The things that she does in the story, she is brutal, she's focused, she does whatever she needs to do to take that predator down, sacrificing her own body. You just see no hesitation from her at all. That's what I wanted to see in this, because if you're gonna have a Viking warrior take on the predator, it needs to be like this, and she did it. Now, if you want to talk about motivation in any of these stories, Ursa had the best motivation, hands down. The way that she had to get revenge on the person that ended her dad's life, actually he made Ursa do the deed when she was just a kid. So now she's built up this life of trying to get revenge on this person. So working her way up to get this person and get her revenge was insane. When her and her team infiltrate this camp to get to the person, it's a one-shot sequence that really set the tone of, okay, we are watching not just an animated Predator movie. If you had any reservations of that, this scene right here set the stage of what we're about to get, and what we're about to get going forward is amazing. The axes, the spears, the shields, the brutality was just, it was amazing. I had no idea that this animated movie was gonna go that hard. Once I saw that scene, all of my worries, everything was set to rest, and I was just along for the ride. Now, when the Predator actually reveals himself, you have to remember something. We're dealing with Vikings here. People that are, bigger than the average person. So they're already these big giant people, but when the Predator uncloaks himself, he's like double their size. So that just added to the buildup, because you see him throughout, the lead up to it, but it just added to like, oh man, they are in trouble. After seeing what they just did with that one-shot sequence, when the Predator reveals himself and he's this huge tank, you worry about these people, and rightfully so. And the Predator in this story was really cool. Like I said, he's this giant tank thing, but then he also is missing an arm. So he has this mechanism on his arm that shoots this like blast of energy and just kind of blasts people away. And that's his main weapon throughout this entire story. So once again, big giant predator with a freaking tank for an arm as well. It's insane to see, and it actually matches up really well with the brutality of Ursa. So that's something that all these stories actually get really well. The dynamic and the mirror of whoever the protagonist is, the antagonist predator, kind of matches up with them really well. Now, I was rooting for Ursa from the moment that I saw her on the ship with the Viking gear. She's leading the charge to get revenge for her father. But yeah, as far as Ursa goes, she's a leader of her people. She was redeeming the demons from her past, and she's all doing it with a super fierce energy that I don't think any other character, maybe in the entire Predator franchise, has ever matched. So all three stories brought something really unique to the table, and Killer of Killers was a great showcase of just how the Predator can adapt across time. And speaking of that, who do you want to see the Predator take on? If another anthology happens, if another movie is made set in a certain time period, who do you want to see take on the Predator? As far as my picks go, I gotta go Gladiator, just set in ancient Rome. Imagine a Predator in the Colosseum. I mean, it's easy, it can be done, let's do it. Next up is a samurai, so not just a ninja that we saw strike from the shadows in this anthology, but maybe a samurai with some honor going up against a predator. So if that's the case, that samurai is gonna have to do some damage to not play dirty. So that'd be something really interesting to see. And lastly, I don't even know how they would begin to do this one, but maybe a cowboy set in the American frontier. I feel like the cowboys would be just destroyed by a predator, but there might be something really cool and creative they can do with that. Thanks for watching my ranking, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button so I know to make more videos just like this one. It's a good day to be a Predator fan.